it's Writing Wednesday, and last week I was talking about the editing process and the whole lather, rinse, repeat, edit, rest, repeat thing. So that's what I've been doing all this past week, and I am now at the end of another editing cycle. Today I got to the last page of the story on this round of edits, and as I've explained before, for me, any round of edits is usually a round of cuts because I really tend to overwrite. I say way more than I need to. I've given you some examples of that in the past. And when I finished the sort of complete first draft of this novel, it was running about 128,000 words. About 115,000 is what By the Rivers of Brooklyn and That Forgetful Shore have been, and I think it's good for, that type of, sort of historical novel. So I knew there had to be some cutting, and there'd have to have been some cutting anyway, because, as I said, I overwrite. I say too much, I explain too much. So I was really happy when I got to the end of this round of edits to notice that I had the manuscript down to just over 113,000 words, which means in this pass-through over the last few weeks, I have cut 15,000 words. Now, writing is kind of a funny business that way because, let's say you're doing NaNoWriMo, as I was back in November, or you're just trying to push through a first draft. It's all about your word count, building up the words, accumulating. How much did I get written today? How much do I have now? How close am I to the goal of finishing this manuscript? And for me, anyway, I can get really fixated, especially in November, on word counts and seeing how many new words I can add. But then it's all about going back and taking out the words I don't need. For me, it wouldn't work to just write a tighter, sparer story in the first place. I need to do that first draft overwriting and get down everything I'm thinking, and then go back and say, oh wow, I don't need to tell the reader this or this or this. They can work that out. So the end result is, I have 15,000 words, pretty much a novella, as somebody pointed out to me, that I don't need. I've just chucked all those words out into the wind. And now I'm thinking about all those poor writers who are working through their first draft and trying to build up more words. So I have 15,000 words free to a good home for any writer who wants to use them. Now, unfortunately, a lot of them are not terribly useful. I mean, I have a lot of thes and a lot of ands, probably hundreds of each of those. I mean, they are useful, you need a lot of them, but I don't think many people need more of them. I think most writers can generate enough of those on their own. So have a bunch of thes and ands if any writer needs them, but I realize there's probably not going to be a lot of takers on those. Another thing I have a bunch of that I've ditched are saids. Wow. I use a lot of speech tags, a lot of he said, she said, and I tend to dislike it when writers use too few of those, so I have to kind of track back and figure out, wait, who's talking here? I don't like it when they make me do that, but at the same time, I can go overboard in the opposite direction and do a lot of she said when it's obvious from the context that she said that, and I don't need that speech tag. So a lot of those get cut. If you need some saids, got a lot of those. Oh, something else that I always have a bunch of when I've cut, I have a lot of words like realized and thought, because what I tend to do is describe a scene, have something happen, and then have my character reflect on it, think about it, realize something as a result. Occasionally that's necessary, but I gotta say, the vast majority of the time, I don't need to tell you what the character thought about it. I've already shown you. You can figure out the rest of it. So I have a lot of realized and thoughts. If your characters need to do some thinking and some realizing, feel free to apply for these words. Also, I have tons of adverbs. I think almost every writer, when they cut, ends up cutting a lot of words that end with li. So I have a lot of, suddenlies, and some truthfully, and here's one. Wow, look what a whack of these I've got. I have a whole lot of extra clearlies. It is probably my most overused word. Clearly, I am far too fond of the word clearly, and I'm constantly going through and cutting it out of drafts because I just seem to want to say things much too clearly for my own good. And I've got a lot of ordinary words, lots of nouns that, when you drop a scene, things get cut, like somebody's walking down a path, that's gone, so, I've got path. Now, here's one that comes with a little bit of a warning, and that is corset. Some of you may remember, if you heard me talk about it, particularly people who know me on Facebook, I was complaining about it there. I had a scene, a tender, intimate scene between two characters where the young lady was wearing a corset, and the logistics of that scene just about destroyed me. I did not cut the scene, but I did trim it quite a bit. I've got a few corsets floating around. If you want to use one, you probably would be either writing a historical novel or something a little bit racy and naughty. Feel free to use the corset, but remember, it does come with a warning. If you get a corset into your novel, you pretty much have to know how to get it off. So there you go, just a sampling of the 15,000 extraneous words that I've had to cut from my novel. I do want them to go to good homes. Even the words that I know are not that useful, like the thes and the ands and the seds and the clearlys, I want to feel that they're in the hands of a writer who truly loves their work, loves the English language, and will take good care of my precious words. So if you're stuck, experiencing a little bit of writer's block perhaps, and need some words to get you going, I got 15,000 extras.